Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., all rights reserved.
They say the neon lights are bright on Broadway.
Welcome back to 23 after the hour. I'm Jim Blasingame. Thank you for staying with me. My website is smallbusinessadvocate.com. Thank you for going there and using it to your advantage. John Bradberry is our guest. He's our new friend, soon-to-be old friend, the author of 6 Secrets of Startup Success, How to Turn Your Entrepreneurial Passion into a Thriving Business. John, tell us how we can find you and your book.
Well, the easiest place is readyfounder.com, and that is www.readyfounder, all one word.
They can find you. They can find out more about your work and the book as well.
They can. The book is right there,
and the book's available wherever books are sold. I know because Amazon is a publisher. Folks, if you're a startup, if you're running a business, if your business isn't doing what you think it ought to, you ought to buy John's book. If you know someone. If you want to do a good deed today, and you know somebody, a child or a grandchild or a friend or a neighbor or whoever who is in that is in the category I just said, go buy the book and give it to them. You'll be doing a good deed. John, the book is about 6 secrets about startup success. In the previous segment, we talked about the first one, which is ready yourself as a founder. We talked about some of the ways of getting some of the ideas out of your head that may be holding you back. You know, you fall in love with your business, and that can, how dangerous that can be. That's really a paradox, because you need to love your business if you're going to do it. You need to be passionate about it, but you also need to be realistic. It reminds me of, to me, every year I feel like more and more that a business is like being the parent of a teenager. You know what I mean? You have so much hopes and aspirations for them, but right now, you know, they might be you love them, but you might not like them too much. So what do you do? How do you do to ready yourself to fix that problem?
Well, great question, and one of my clients uses a similar analogy that committing to a business and starting a business is like a marriage, and just as many businesses fail, a lot of marriages fail, and one of the reasons is that decisions are made without a lot of thoughtfulness in terms of how are we actually going to partner and live together. And so you have to do the same thing with your business. And founder readiness, this principle of being as ready as you possibly can, and this doesn't matter whether you're about to start a business or whether you've run a business for 20 years, is how can you get the best possible fit between what you do well, your motivations, your personality, your experience, and what the business actually needs from you. Mm-hmm. And I find a lot of founders that don't have a very good fit there. They're not aware, perhaps, of what they do well.
What would be an example of how you wouldn't fit with your business?
Well, one example is someone who is, businesses go through phases, and let's say someone is highly conceptual. They're an idea person. That classic entrepreneur who sees the shiny object everywhere they go.
Right.
That's actually helpful early in many businesses because you're trying new things. You need to find ways to generate revenue, and you need to be creative about it. But then you hit the point where you need to double down and put some processes in place, right?
Yeah.
And really grow and execute. This is not a good fit for this particular founder. Mm-hmm. And if they're not aware of that or they won't admit it, they won't fill that gap.
So if they're a visionary and they don't have any, they have never demonstrated the acumen, the experience, or the discipline to be a manager, then they need to get some help with that real quick, don't they?
Absolutely. That's a perfect example. And no founder that I've come across is perfectly prepared, to run a full business. And we all face this issue, right, of do we do a little bit of everything, or do we try to be a specialist and bring in other talent to help us do what they do best to fill our gaps? Go ahead.
It's amazing how many times the wisdom of Inspector Callahan comes into play in business. Dirty Harry, a man's got to know his limitation. A woman's got to know her limitation. It's amazing
Right.
how often that wisdom comes into play in business, isn't it?
Well, it does, and if you can get to that point, it's very liberating.
Right.
I think people let their ego get in the way, and they feel like they need to be this heroic, swashbuckling entrepreneur who can do anything. And the reality is, it's very liberating to do what you do best and celebrate that and fill your gaps. And so, in the book, for example, we have a tool called a founder readiness tool, and it allows you to go through a set of factors that we know play into running a business, that contribute to running an effective business, and kind of calibrate or measure yourself against those, and get honest with yourself about what it's really going to take.
How much of folks, one of the things that we want to get across is you're not going to be successful in business if you aren't prepared to take a hard look at yourself. And if you don't, and you need to know going in that when you look hard at yourself, as you may already have perceived, it's not always pleasant. There might be a tiny little bit, as they say when they're taking your blood. This is going to be a little pinprick, right? There might be one of those. There might even be, it might be worse, but you can't get better. No pain, no gain, right, John?
Right, and I'll tell you a story about that.
I'll tell you what, John, I wish I had time for that, but will you hold that story? Because I want to have you back.
I will.
Folks, we got
Absolutely.
a lot more to talk about. We're going to do a little series with John, if he'll come back, if he'll agree to it, on this whole startup process. Will you do that, John?
More than happy to.
All right, we're going to get you back again real soon. This is the kind of stuff, folks, you're going to find in John's book, The 6 Secrets of Startup Success. John Bradberry, B-E-R-R-Y, and he'll be back another day real soon. Quick break. Thanks, John, for being here. Quick break. Stay with me. I'll be right back.
Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., intended for the private use of our audience. Except as otherwise provided by copyright law, all other copying, redistribution, or publication without prior written consent is prohibited. All rights reserved. Prohibited. All rights reserved. Prohibited.